Hello students, welcome to the class. Today we're going to learn a poem, Youth and Age, written by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. So before we start learning the poem, let's know something about the poet. So Samuel Taylor Coleridge was born on 21st of October 1772 in Devon, England. He was a very close friend to the great romantic poet William Wordsworth. And William Wordsworth and Coleridge are considered to be the great pioneers of the Romantic movement that started in the late 1798, which was then influenced by the French Revolution of 1789. There are many great works of Samuel Taylor Coleridge, but then some of the important works that can be mentioned are, like we have Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which David Herbert Lawrence had given a reference in the poem Snake, which you are going to study later in your syllabus. And then we have Dissection and Ode, Christabel, and the famous one Kubla Khan. Critics believed that while composing this Kubla Khan, Coleridge was greatly under the influence of opium, so much so that he left the poem incomplete. So, Coleridge as a romantic poet had a great vision or had dreamt about the perfection of creative genius. To him, poetry is a product of imagination on the running or working on the objects of nature and life. This idea of his romanticism and his definition of poetry we are going to explore in the poem which we are going to study a minute later. Now, before learning the poem, let us know about the poem's publication. This particular poem was published thrice in 3 years. That is, the first one from lines 1 to 38 was published in the year 1829, and then the remaining 11th line we have, that is from line 39 to 49, was published in the year 1832. The final version which we are going to read now, or which the poet has presented in front of us, was published in the year 1834, the same year which Coleridge passed away. Coleridge died of pneumonia in the year 1834. So this was a brief introduction about the poet and the poem. Now let's talk about the poem. Now before we start learning the poem, let us explore or examine the title as usual. Now let's see, Youth and Age. What do we understand by youth and age? Coleridge has beautifully presented two contradictory objects, or the stages of life. You should never forget that Shakespeare has also written on the stages of human life, like we have 7 ages of man. And the same title, there is also a poem by Lord Byron, but the theme which Byron had written and Coleridge had written is totally different. Now here in this poem, Coleridge says that there should be hope even in the latter stage of our life, whereas Byron says that there is no hope at all, because that is the late stage of our life. So let's look here, youth and age. When we say youth and age, what do you understand by youth? It symbolizes fresh, whereas age symbolizes dull. Then again we have energetic. Then here we have lazy. Now these are some of the things you can either note it down, or you can make your own things, or put out your own concepts and objects and try to compare it. That would help you to explore more about the poem. Now, youth and age. Then can we put another or idea that youth symbolizes maybe birth, and where age symbolizes death? Can it be this way also? Definitely yes. So these are the two contradictory objects that Samuel Taylor Coleridge has put it on to the readers. Now let's start reading the poem. Now we have, verse the breeze mid blossoms straying, where hop clung feeding like a bee, bought were mine, life went a-maying, with nature, hope, and poesy. When I was young, ah, woeful when, Now here, this is the first stanza or the first part, can we say. Now this stanza has got a semi-autobiographical note in it. Why do I say this? Because Coleridge, as a romantic poet, dreamt of gaining great reputation, great fame by composing poetry. Haibadine, Coleridge say romantic poet ama oibana maram oiduna. Mangon the romanticism gi habdi love of nature or return to nature. Sigumba concepts in form taraga magi poetry se sagat panina. At the same time, poetry iraga mingchat tange haibagi wakalon the mangon the laizabanina. Aduki concept do masigi first stanzas da koina uba pangeba. Kamaina uba pangino, he says, verse the breeze mid blossoms. That means he compares poetry. Verse habs the poetry niko. Mana poetry se kariga compared to we sat libel lay mayam gi marakta nungshitna koi chen chelaga sanazaba adugumbagi yam freely oina sanazaba matam amakhakni youth ta koina poetry ibase haibako. Aduri mana sa haining is kaino haiba matamda youth ta poetry ibagi mawong matause freely akoigi thamoida yamna free oiba ithil amakhak phawhalleba. The next adugi ithil do karai degi lai hope tagi lai ko. Hope here stands for inspiration. Adamana kai haige ham tamza hope se kariga amuk mana changdam nagi have the bee koina lahi chuppagi mawong do ko habri a bee sucking nectar from the flower. Flower amadagi koi amana lahi chuppagi aduguma makyam energetic oiba youthful oiba enthusiastic vital oiba aduguma mawong do mana that means hope amasung magi poetry sing se mangonda yamna freely lakpa matam amakhak oirameba habri both way mind habagi atadi kaino have the verse and hope. Verse ka hope ka se mabani khaki mabani se poet se khaki oirameba karamba kanda when he was young. Now this is important. This phrase life went a maying, life went a maying. This phrase can come even as a 2-mark question. Now what happens here? Why do I say this is important? No doubt this is the most important point or the part in the first stanza. Why? The poet, that is XII Coleridge, he could have mentioned like life went gay, life went happy, life went jolly, life went merry. But why did he mention life went maying? Now this maying comes from the word May, the May month. Why is this May month important? May month in England is very important because it welcomes a warmer season. It's the season of love and romance. It's also celebrate the coming of, hope and joy after a long winter. Haibaga atadi kaino hamdanda ingdamda haibase akhoi tanba matam lazy oiba matam aduguma makhai sanglaba ingdamdagi matungda May se lakpada khoina lai mayam ama fruits mayam where fruits, flowers, plants, everything blossom. Makhogi satchaba matam do aduguma matam amakhak oiba. Aduna, poets in Coleridge had intentionally used the word maying. You should not forget that May Day, akoina Labor Day na khangnai ko first day se. May Day ki first day is Labor Day na khangnai. So England dadi mayam pullaga koi sa yaw sangda thabal chongba dumaina mkhoi su leisa pakhang mayam punsilaga harau bagi jagoi masai. Adu betaragadi ngasai mana youthful day oirimai matamda when I was young and harak matamdo adu tardi mana life went a maying haibadi yam harau tayamna tayang na punsi se awaba makal amatta laitana nungai na palami haiba. Then the next line the mana when I was young, it ends with an exclamatory mark. Suddenly he remembers my reality the lakpane I zinaha oiram drene haibagi concept ama. Next question mockingly he asked because it ends with a question mark. Mana hai when I was young hangiba question di mama sana hang baneba aina naha oiringai da ta hang bayari badi atopa meaning the interpret the bayari badi kaino hamtna ai bu naha oidrebra. Haibagi question dun man hangise ko a waffle when adukimatik nungai tana kamain haini punsi se nungai ta bigi tangkak ado yore e haibagi monda concept amakhak lakiba. So this is the end of the first stanza. Now the second stanza he says, when I was young a waffle when all for the twixt now and then. Masay mana twixt change had a drastic change. Kangau daba yamna kay haini kangau daba ikang kangau dana hong ba malakpa now and then. Now habidi kaino hauzik magi old age oy bigi matam se. Then hairak targadi kaino haiba matam da magi youthful days. So youthful days amasung magi old age kagi khenabagi marakse samana adukimatik nungai taba lamentation ko nungai taba phongdokpa amaga loinana mana past memories sing do recall tawbani ba karma makalgi past memory no haiba matamda magi youthful days harau ba matam habri hope clung like a bee, and then verse amidst the mid blossom flowers and such things like that. This breeding house not built with hands, this body that does me grievous wrong, or carry airy cleaves and glittering sands, how lightly then it flashed along, like those stream skips unknown of yore, on winding lakes and rivers wide, that ask no aid of sail or oar, that fear no spite of wind nor tide, not cared his body for the wind or weather, when youth and I lived in it together. So this breeding house, man says a breeding house and a high risiko. Now, breeding house is the poet's body. No, one more question. The breathing house has the minta say magi poet's body do neba magi poet sagi hakjang sineba. Now, this breathing house is not built with hands and kaidobagi high no hypermatamda. Akoina breathing house haibaga yum amaga ko magi bodies ga compare to siba yum haibasiri concrete brick sense mayama mana chahi kaya matik lainana bagi damakta sara ba yum amaneba adubu breathing house sedi kaino sa minter is a theme of mortality asi banai ba khoi miyoi bagi hakchang se because it is made of flesh and blood ko aduna saduma masuk ina semaga sarak pa miyoi bagi punsini na kaidogi haba matam da koi hingani sibasu naigani ba yum sari ba yum do adumaina lehoroi ba so maybe his body is not built with that much care the way we build our own houses. So masigi body sinako that does me grievous wrong. Mangonda dokimatik nungai handaba poe. Magi karamba body no hangbayay. Is it his youthful body or his old age? That is his old age. Magi naha ahal oirabagi matam gi punsi se masibune ba mana nungai taba phongdok sari se habadi kaino youth matam na mana tawbang thabak mayam ama se piri kai hai or airy cliffs and glittering sands agi mountain mathakta adigi samudra gi ipakta koi chat pangamame kanagumba amattagi mateng yaudana he do not fear tide weather magi samudra gi ithaksu ki bide kari phattaba weather phattaba lakani habsu seasons amatta mangonda kiram deba habidi kaino youth ki matamda aina ngasai haigibodo yam energetic oiba matam neba we feel that we can conquer the world akoina akoigi prithvi se akoina akoigi khudum tasal akoina joy to ngamgani habigi concept akoina yam energetic enthusiastic oiba matam se aduneba mana kai tawrme deda mana trim stays mana trim skips and high trim skips means steamboats that was developed in 19th century, that is in the year 1812. Aduna steamboats haibasiri kanamta gi mateng amta yauduna mana samudra gi ipakta mathang da thauza bangambado aduga mana magi body se changdam naib haibadi kaino kanabu sumana akiba laiteba ko on winding lakes and rivers wide achauba samudra gi ipakta mana koi chatuna chatlam bangamameba there is no aid of sail or oar kanagumbag without the help of anybody kanamta gi mateng yauduna he could roam the world, he could tour the mountains, he could tour the sea that fear no spite of wind tide I know say haigibdo kanamta gi mangonda bateng yauduna akibam leiram deba monda when youth and I lived it in it together karam kanduna mana sirata ubangama mise when youth and I lived in it together mark the tense lived lived past lai ko adu tardi mana se kai hagem tam da youth se magi masada laitre habe se mana conscious oireba youth se mai masada laitre habe se mana khangjarakpagi tanjama reality ama khagtang mangonda laiba adubu there is a theme of escapism ko reality dagi ma escape to rakadoine kamaina akoi letters change asing da urakani habdi ma masana haijaraktoine ba youth husipa uchatri nangaga kaina bagi kari gumba machak amata bo laitri habagi concepts da mana sagalaga reality da kaino magi all age ko sigi ma deviate toraga escapism da so maybe this is also one of the characteristics of romanticism. Move now let's see. Flowers are lovely, love is flower-like. Friendship is a sheltering tree. This line is important. Or the joys that came down shower-like. Flowers are lovely. Love is flower-like. Now, he is comparing love to a flower. nungshiba haibasisu adukimatik phazaraba potsak amakhakne. It's a gift of God. Flowers is kaino phazaba potsak amakhakne ba. But both are very beautiful, but then they are short-lived. Tung koina punsi deba. Aduna as a man mean towning say maybe his relationship with his wife. Friendship is a sheltering tree. This line is important. Why do I say that this line is important? Because there is also a semi-autobiographical novel point where he tries to recollect the memory of the friendship between William Wordsworth and he himself. Friendship hai se koina ima ipa da share towning da ba wari mayam ma adigi koina maru mapang da share towning da ba sorry ozaguri da share towning da ba wari mayam ma akoi maru mapang da share taweba aduna lonely traveler ma khangna ko yamna wana halakpa matam khama da pothaza bagumna akoi thawai sina nungairakta matamda friend circle manakta changa khoi wari sai adugi concept ni mana pusali se. But what kind of friendship? The friendship that he had with William Wordsworth kamaga lainaramba marido adugi friendship to mana mentor basu yai aduram the interpret basu yai ko. Or the joys that came down shower like matam to the youth to dedicate the ha matam da nungai ba harau ba habase Ororo in abundance da adukimatik lerame maybe like rain ko maning tam na ne youthful age matam da adukimatik nungai na taram na lerame ba. Of friendship, love and liberty. Shigi friendship is mean to akoi na tree mana ngasai potsak mana nature hope and poesy enjoy to grain haire adagi stena kai no mu haira ko matamda of friendship, love and liberty in haiba. Friendships dai no se explain to gibido chamane ko William Wordsworth mento bani love maybe his wife. Liberty, as I told you in the beginning that French Revolution 1789 greatly influenced Coleridge and Wordsworth, both of them. So here what happens is that Mabani se kai Hampton with the joint publication of Preface to Lyrical Ballads ko. Preface to Lyrical Ballads say 1798 published bani aduna liberty hai target se the French Revolution do main bani 1789 ki. Ere I was old, before I was old. So all these things happen before I was old. Aina naha oiringaida, aina ahal oiraktingaida loina magthokiba ngakta ba masising ase. Ere I was old. Amako sa question hangi ko. Sin is mana compare to bayay ngasagi when I was young haibadumaga, when I was young haibadumaga anido compare to way. A woeful air. Aduki matik nungai gidre da ko on haiba. Which tells me youth's no longer here. Mana se kai hagam to the youth say hauzik magale minadre haidana haideba. Masigi may amsina ma aina naha oiringai punsida na hairak pa matam da ko. Youth say kai daure haba matam youth say magi manakta ki chat kre na mana masama thanda khang ba se realize to bahore eba. Oh youth, for years so many and sweet. Mana kauzai ko youth bo oh youth nanga iga nungsi na matam kaya len minakiba. It is known that thou and I were one. Miyam punamag na khangnarabane nanga aiga se amat to ina nungsina na leminarami have the intimate friends ko maru mapang yam na lu na tinaramba maru ama oirami have se everybody is aware of. I'll think but a fond conceit it cannot be that thou art gone. Nang chat kre have se aina kadigumba khallaba adu tardi fond conceit apang ba idea. Foolish notion ko foolish idea amakak oini adon nang chat pa yadri habagi concept amamongon the lie kaido bagino thy vesper bell had not yet tolled manas the head vesper bell hai se bell ne evening bell Christian Christian mythology ni ko church ta koina evening gi pung manga taruk sai tarpam tan the bell king batara am gani ko adu kaina ham tan the prayer gi ko thok pane but this can also mean the parting bell farewell bell kainaram dai mikup ki kangsido maduba wa king dri haiba aduna nang chat pa sungya yadri ai gi punsi dagi ai hakchang dagi nang chat pa sungya yadri siniman hai se ko. And thou wert a mask bowl. Nang disaklon po mi amagumna ay hagjang da. Haibadi kayo nga sa magi breathing house to. Maduday do the later mina. Haiba karamba makal disaklon po no. What strange disguise has now put on? Nang disaklon po ba may ama mahayda ko. Haiba. Haibadi for example ako in stage sa drama ma inekto matamda mi matoglaga mama maya maupsal leraga ID adu ID heroine among sagani ngahalega hero among sagani ngahalega joker among sagani ngahalega fool among sagani adung ba character may ama masaraga nang ay sida later me. Aham badri nang sa kaino yam youthful, energetic boy amo ina later me ko over the clary apes and glittering sands kind high gibido. Sida na kay dawraba housing na nang nagkaram basaklon puraga later ba to make believe that thou art gone. Nang nangasi puri basaklon mayam se ay ipam dagin nang chat kre hay base tak na bagi damaktara nang na puri basaklon sing sudi kaino I see these locks and silvery slips. ko silvery slips haibdi grayish color hair akoigi ahal oira ba matamda kai haini huzik akoigi black hair oiri base oiraktaba grayish color oirakpa nangna huzik saklon ama laure ba ai hana muzaram ba samdo huzik doraba silvery slip silvery lock oire ko this drooping gait, this altered size body. Maybe magi body do mayang kang dharam bayare, noikhalam bayare. Adubu ngasagi magi youth ki energetic oiba body do adugi body do di ma oitreba. Ma kitang manam polap na mga sagi sumaina lepang amambado kitang manam polap na hinge. Masi mayam si physical imagery mayam se kaitang na nabagi no hai bagi damakta ma ahal oire hai na bagi damakta ni. Mana kanado no wari sari ba mana hangi ba se mana youth hangi ba ne. Nang ngasi puri ba saklon sina karino ay bu ahal oire haibase tangna bagidamaktara haidana. But springtide blossoms on thy lips and tears take sunshine from thine eyes. These two lines indicate the theme of romanticism. Romantic images niko habdi kaino nature accept over. Mana sa hayo but springtide blossoms on thy lips. Ay ahal oizarabasu namponzarabasu hakchang yangkang dharabasu silvery lock palagasu samngawzaragasu Nangi naha oibagi mami amadi nangi chinbal da tariba. And kaidoraba magi mamit talangi ba piroina ba mit na langi ba do maduna magi ngasagi youth ki aduki matik energetic oiba thawayam na yauza ba aduguma makhagi mami amakak nangi mitlu da uri ba ina aduri magi si ani si lines na kai tai haiba matamda Coleridge na ma ahal oire haibase sungya yaning deba. This only proves that age is just a number according to Coleridge. Chahi haibase just masing kaktani naha oizeri ay hakti haidana mana hingaga adugumba wakalda lairi bako. Now he says, life is but thought, so think I will. This line is important. That youth and I are housemates still. Dew drops are the gems of morning, but the tears of mournful eve. Where no hope is, life's a warning that only serves to make us grieve. Life is but thought, so think I will. What do you understand from this line? This particular line can sum up the whole central idea of the poem. Nga saay digi mana youth ki stage mana adu chali ada chali samudra ipak da chali kanasu ki den hairam maga nga say mana muk se akoy huzik ta pagi pa mamang da kay dawi ma se youth se disguise sarga silvery locks saure drooping gate adagi adu tawre na mana hairi ba mayam duga anis da kay changdam na rake ba kay changdam na rake haba matam da mana wakhal se akoy gi punsi haiba se akoy na khan ba do oiba. That means we become what we think. That means akoy mind say if we imbibe positive thoughts to our mind, we live in an optimistic world. Negative thoughts pisal taragadi, we live in a pessimistic world. Aduni kuman hai se akoy wakal hai se akoy na khanzabado madu khatamak oigani siniman hai se. That youth and I are housemates still. Adudi man hai akoy na punsi hai base akoy na khanzaba mawong duda akoy na hingzaba neba. Adudi nang chatri hai bade youth ko youth housing power aiga leminari hai base di aina khanbada aran bo oigadra siniman hangi se. Magi according to Coleridge this is absolutely correct ko kashimta lan deba. Dew drops are the gems of morning. Ayuk likla se mana morning dadi habidi kaino mornings in symbolize so kaino youth neba. Ayuk likla se nungai ba purakpa pausel purakpa makhak oi. Adubu evening habidi kaino end of the day. Punsilo ramdai obisuai habidi sekai oire old age. Adu tari sekai oire kani haba matamda mana tears ka changdam nare habidi kaino sorrowful sadness nungai taba unhappy feelings mayamama adu kumba makal emotions mayamama magi masada laeba. Where no hope is, life's a warning that only serves to make us grieve. Punsigi loiram dai mikupta asha yaudana hingba punsi dudi akoi gi hakchangda nungai taba khaktana thallaga koi hingani haiba. Aru tadi mana side gi haira iba ko youth ka aiga leminari in hairi se magi asha ama khakneba hope ama khakneba. Ngasagi second line the lag se hope like a bee the mana a sucking bee in haido nectar sakta riba bee in man haido. Aduna takpari kaino hai matamsida youth se magi masadagi chatri hai base mana huzpa uleireba. Know that there are many physical changes that happened in the poet's body ko magi masaduda ahong bakaya amadi leireba adubu leiba taraga sune youth se ngasi bawa ai naktagi hongdri hai base mana khallaga leiba kaidobagi khallino haiba matamsida Kaigumba ahalorapa punsisa we are at the verge of dying ko akoi shiduri bani nongmadi ado ahalorapa punsisa koina wakal se nungai thokna hingbangam draba aitari awaba na pik thangani sini aduna ai asha se hope se leidaga hingane ba magi matung ni di karamba hope no haiba matamda youth amasung maga laiminari haibasineba. When we are old, that only serves to make us grieve with often tedious taking leave. Akoina nungai, akoina ahal oirakpa matamdadi yam lazy ko tandharakpa matang amakak oirakani. Akoina punsi zibu siningba kanasu yaude yam tanna bye ko farewell haibase bed farewell tawram duni babain hayam duni bada nungai taba makhalgi thawai me yam sina puraga manong madi chatkaduri bani ba ahal oibi punsi se aduna characterize tawi siniman haise. Like some poor Nai-related guests, because in 2017 the 2 marks are hungry, that may not rudely be dismissed, yet had outstayed his welcome while, and tells a jest without a smile. Ahaloi bagi punsi se man unwelcomed guests amagatore, poor Nai-related guests. Nai have a poetic term ne, houses the kain ham near haivani. Kanagu manangi naknaba maru mapanga manangi yum the lae, but nang nadi yam tantok pasu yadaba. Kari you know ham the close relative oibagi. Aduna akoigi ishagi akoigi family da ahal oir pamatam haibase. Akoigi youngsters mayamna su tantok pasu yadaba matangama. Akoi ithanda punsi lotion zeragi habisu yadaba matangama. Adugu makhalgi gyam kahani transition period amada akoi se layeba. Adunadi adugi matumda akoi kaidogani haiba matamda. Akoi harau tayamna layba tayeba. Akoigi maithongda nokning bagi dagi karigumba nungaiba jolly feeling amata maithongda mamita daba taragasu. Hope to labor taragadi, we can live happily. Adunamana, he is in this poem, Coleridge is trying to remember the past in a bitter way. Yam nungai taba maung amadamana ne magi harau ba happy passing do remember to. This poem is important really in our life. Why? Because it tells us, it gives us a hope to live more. Old age haibase kaino haiba matam sida. Akoigi punsi loiram dai mikup neba. Loiram dai mikup sida akoina yam nungai tana wana sigi bitaragadi we can say that we did not live our life to the fullest. Nungai ba mikup amata phangdana sigi haibado adu haidana bagi damakta harauba hope haibase akoigi ashada leizaraga hingadabane haba. So the central theme of the poem talks about morality and the theme of escapism. Mortality ko. Asi bagi adugi nomdi koi sigaduri bani se khangna asa se leigadaba. Se to bakoi no kari karam way the interpret away age haiba taragadi. Akoi na thabak tawrama ma tawrba matamda we may fail. Ko akoi mai paklak tabayai. Adubu asha hope haibase akoi thammaga leigadamne that we can do or we can win some other day. Nongmade koi soidana mai pakhigani haibagi concept da leigadabane ba. Anyway, this was about the poem Youth and Age by Samuel Taylor Coleridge.